The Chicago business scene is as diverse as the city itself. But we don't always hear from the entrepreneurs who keep the Chicago economy colorful. That's where I come in. I'm Micae Brown, and this is the Micae Brown Report. And let's wait for the folks to come on in slowly but surely as we do so. I wonder, I kind of feel like all the time where people like when it's like webinars versus parties, like this isn't a Black people party, even though we are celebrating women of color. We started on time.
They come like 15 minutes late.
Or even 30 minutes late, like, hey, I'm just joining in. What did I miss? I'm like, girl, this started 30 minutes ago. We start on time every single Wednesday. Yeah. Every single Wednesday. But I am super pumped to have you. And I'm excited because this is kind of like the second time around.
Yeah.
And what was funny was Jessica was like talking about how she was so excited about this one woman that she booked for this week. And she was talking about how she's like a mompreneur and all this stuff. And I'm like, this woman sounds very familiar. And she's like, oh, she started the Stork Bag. I'm like, oh, girl, I know her. I'm like, I already covered it, but I'll do it again.
I love it.
Yes. So for all of you all that are just joining in, Ericka Perry, she is a mom of 3. And in 2014, she started the Stork Bag. And she wanted to put all of the guesswork out of shopping for your pregnancy or your pregnancy loved one. And I am excited to have you because you've really created an empire out of a necessity that every single woman needs. And especially for first-time moms, even though you probably have a ton of friends that give you a whole lot of advice and a whole bunch of aunties that tell you about a whole lot of stuff that worked 50 years ago. Right. Yeah. You can never get, like, you can never hone in on the stuff that actually works. So let's just take a step back. Where, like, during what pregnancy were you having this aha moment and like, man, I need to create a business out of this because I'm having this problem and I know other women have to be having the same problem?
Yeah, you know what? It had to be with my 3rd pregnancy. Every woman knows when it's her last pregnancy, right? And so with my, I was like, this is it, no more. I was hoping for a little girl, but it was boy number 3, but I was good with that. And I remember thinking to myself at that time, as mothers, we're super selfless. We want to do for everyone else. And I remember thinking to myself, man, I would love a foot massage or something. And I never really got it. But what really struck home to me, and when I had that aha moment, was when my best friend was pregnant and I had my 3rd son. She's pregnant for the first time. And she's like, Ericka, how did you do this 3 times? I'm going through it. Like, I don't know what to buy. There's all this different stuff. So I told her, I said, I'm going to create you a care package and I'm going to send it to you. At the time I was living in Chicago. She was in Florida. So I did that. But first I went online because I wanted something super easy. I'm like, I don't feel like going to the store and, I don't want to pick all these. I want something that I can just go online, click buy, pay for it, and then it goes to her. And I went and there was nothing like that out there. And I thought to myself, like, what's the deal? Like, why aren't there gifts for pregnant women? And so with that, I ended up creating a care package for her. I sent it to her and she loved it. But as I'm doing this, I'm like, wow, they have this on the market. I didn't know they had this, and all these different things. And I'm like, why is this not out there already? And right. So I remember that day I went to my husband and I'm like, I think I have like a business idea. And I told him, and he was like, this gives me chills. Do it. It's going to work, do it. And so we were playing around with ideas, and this literally happened within a couple of days. We're playing around with ideas.
Wow.
Yes. And I was like, what do you think about what's synonymous with pregnancy? And he goes, what about like a stork? And I was like, stork box. Stork box was the first thing that came to mind. But then I'm like, everybody's doing boxes. That's when those subscription boxes became really, really popular. Everybody was doing boxes. So I'm like, as a pregnant woman, I think that a keepsake is more important than anything else. You know, something that you can look back at, a memento of sorts, you know, something that you can pass down. So I said, well, what if we do a bag and put the products in the bag, and then the woman has the bag to, you know, forever, you know, she can look back at it. And so that's when the Stork Bag was born. And that was definitely my aha moment, although a lot of things led up to that.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So I love it. And what I also love is the fact that you decided to activate on that vision immediately. We talk about this all the time about how so many of us sit on ideas. We just sit on it. We don't move on it. And then when we're watching QVC one day, we say, oh, I came up with that product. Well, you didn't activate on it, so it's theirs. Yeah. So why did you decide to move so quickly? Like, what gave you that confidence in knowing, okay, this is actually going to be worth my time. This is going to be successful, et cetera?
Yeah, you know what? It sounds crazy, but I had failed right before that. You know, this was the second time that I, you know, tried my hand at entrepreneurship. The first time was about 2 years before, and it didn't work out the way that I wanted it to work out. But there was something in me that said, you know, my passion, it was just always to work with women and mothers. So when I had this idea, it was one of those things, you know, so many people have great ideas, just like you said, but it was one of those things where I'm like, this is a really good idea. And if I don't put this out and set some type of goal, you know, when I put this out, not just put it out blindly and be like, okay, whatever I sell. But when I put it out, I actually set a quantitative goal. So I said, if I sell 100 bags, that means that we might have something, you know, and that was just within 1 year. So for me, I've always been one of those people. I'm like, you know, I have an idea. Let's just do it. I'm a risk taker. If you've ever seen risk taking before, I failed and got back up and did the same thing. And that may not be the best thing to do. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And in this case, it worked. And I'm happy that I took that lead. Now, I have to say that at first it was super scary, and it still is sometimes, but it was really, really scary because just like with everyone else who have excellent ideas, you start second guessing yourself, especially when you start thinking too much. And so for me, it was just about just blindly doing it. Just jump, just do it. And once you put so much into something, you can't go back. So at that time, I had started putting money into it, and I bought the domain right away. And I'm like, I can't go back now. So it was kind of like forcing myself to do it. Like, go, you know, I'm pushing myself, you know. And yeah, that's the story behind that.
Now, I love it. And you mentioned that you had some huge failures and you got back up immediately and tried it again. Tell me about one of your biggest failures that would have normally knocked the regular person off their seat and would have never got back on the driver's seat again.
Yeah, you know what? So my first business, Mommy Made, which is now the parent company, it was like a roundabout. Oh my God. My story is so long, but I'm not going to take the long route, okay? But my first business was Mommy Made, and it was Mommy Made Services. And the idea was to pair domestic helpers with parents, really busy families, right? And so with this, I put everything into it, and I spent so much time on this business. I ended up leaving my job. I left my job, like my career. Like I left that. I was working on my master's. So many things was happening at that time, but I just knew it would work. And then after not a couple years, after about a year and a half of nothing happening really, me putting a lot into it and nothing really happening, I'm like, you know what? Let me take some time off. Let me step back because maybe this is not what I'm supposed to do. And so when I did that, it was kind of like I was missing the part of me that was able to create something, but I was not missing what I had created, if that makes any sense. And so that's when I knew, okay, maybe I should walk away from this business. At that time, I did not know that I could merge this business into something else and make it the parent company, which it is now. But that was probably one of the biggest failures, because once you put so much into something, and
Absolutely.
you feel, you know, when you get really excited when you're actually planning something, you have goals and you start executing, but it's a huge letdown when you execute, and you get nothing in return.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. And so I feel like that definitely would have knocked the normal person down, and they would have been like, yeah, nah, I'm going to work the 9 to 5. But for me, I couldn't do the 9 to 5 anymore. Just something in me was like, I can't. You know, I can go up so high, and then somebody up top is telling me you can't go up any higher. Like, how is that fair? You know, how is it fair? And so I know I needed to do something that I was in control of. I needed to do something that I had creative control over, and that I could just feel like it was mine, and that I was actually serving a population.
Wow. I love that story. I love it. I mean, the average Joe would definitely have given up. Seriously. And Ori says, hello, good evening to you too. I love that story, and I'm all about the not falling too far in love with your idea, because that's where a lot of business owners feel, especially us women who lead with emotion first a lot of times. Yeah. And we are so in love with the idea that we don't know when to let it go for now. Mm-hmm. It's like, it doesn't even have to mean you have to kill it. Just put that idea in a self-induced coma, mm-hmm. and we can resurrect it when we need to. But right now, this doesn't make sense. Right. Now, what I thought was also surprising is when you said that your husband said, activate on this right away, do it, blah, blah, blah. Now, that isn't always normally the case. A mom with 3 kids, husband encouraging you to start a business. Like, is he from Mars? Like, tell me about that dynamic.
Yeah, you know what? My husband is he's an entrepreneur as well. And so we have 2 risk takers in the same house. So you can only imagine how our sons are. My husband actually left his job around the same time I left my job.
No, y'all didn't both have. No. Y'all both didn't leave the 9 to 5 at the same time.
We left our 9 to 5s at the same time. And it was one of those things. We really, 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 truly believe that thoughts become things. And we believe that if you visualize something, and if you act on it, and if you goal set and execute those goals and just stay consistent, then it will happen. And so for us, it was just one of those things where it was just faith. It was like, jump now or keep on flying in this airplane that's going nowhere, and then in 20 years have so many regrets. And so we're like, you know what, let's just jump now, you know, and see what happens. And we jumped, and it worked out. Now it didn't work out to where
you all jumped with 3 kids or 2 kids?
With 3 kids.
Oh my God.
Matter of fact, I had just had our youngest.
So you had a newborn, and both of y'all quit y'all jobs. Yeah. The normal person would call you all insane.
They did. we had a lot of people saying that we were insane, but it was just something that we talked about, and we felt like it was the right time for us to do it. I'm not telling everybody to go quit your job, and you know, but we had planned out what we were going to do for the next 3 months. We had some stuff put back, and we had kind of planned it out. And so for us, it was the right thing to do. Like I said, we are risk takers. And that's not something that I totally encourage for someone who has a family, but it worked for us. And yeah.
Yeah. Now you've had since quitting with the newborn, with your husband at the same time, the security of the 15th and the 30th check, yes. You've been able to get the Stork Bag in the hands of Khloe Kardashian.
Right.
Now, we all know, whatever anybody has to say about the Kardashians, we know that they have followers. Our followers are strong, and they build brands. They are the Oprah of whatever we want to call them, whatever category we're going to put them in.
Right.
How did you do that?
So you know what, to be honest with you, we have Kim Kardashian had a Stork Bag, Khloe, as Joanna Gaines. I don't know if you all watch HGTV. She just recently sent us a thank you card, because she had a Stork Bag. But Khloe was just one of those people that really, really loved her bag so much that she felt like, you know, I'm going to go on social media. A lot of times we send out the Stork bags. Sometimes they get purchased for people and we don't know exactly who it is because it could be a manager or something like that. But it's really fun. It was very interesting how that happened, to be honest with you. So
how did it happen?
So it's so funny. So we sent out a Stork bag to Chloe 3-4 days before. So she wasn't just sitting on this. She literally got it and was so excited that she posted like the day of. So we sent her a bag maybe 3 or 4 days before. I went on a mini vacation with my husband and some friends. We're on the airplane, getting ready to take off. And my phone is like going off with notifications. So I'm like, what happened? You know, like, oh my gosh. So I checked, it was Facebook, Instagram, people were emailing and texting. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I checked my Instagram and 2 people were like, Ericka, Khloe Kardashian just posted the Stork bag. And she's,
oh my gosh.
And I'm like, I'm like, what, where, what? And so I go to Chloe's Instagram page and I don't see anything. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And they were like, on Snapchat. Well, I don't have Snapchat because
oh wow, really?
Yeah. So they're like on Snapchat. So I'm like, I don't have Snapchat. So I go on my Facebook. I'm like, apparently Khloe Kardashian's Snapchatting about the Stork bag. Somebody send me the video. 10, 15 people sent me the video. As soon as we're taking off, I got a chance to watch the video. I was like, oh my gosh, she did. And it happened like that. And, you know, we land and I'm super anxious to land. I'm like, come on, what's taking so long to land? You know, I want to get the rest of these messages and actually watch the video. And so when we landed, it was still kind of surreal. Now, like you said, regardless on what anybody thinks about the Kardashian sisters, they have a lot of influence. They have a ton of influence. So regardless on what you think, if you have a business and you know that a certain person has a lot of influence, you want to get them your product. Doesn't matter. You know, in business, it shouldn't be about, I don't like this person for whatever. It's
exactly.
About, okay.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
I got bashed on like Black social media because I went on a podcast and I said that I'm not hating on Cardi B. Like, whatever y'all want to say about this woman, she made it from the bottom. Now she's here and she got a huge following. I can't hate her game. I want to put my product in her hands. Like, we can't hate on whatever you may think over here. You're personal. That doesn't mean anything. Okay, so keep your Jesus at home. This is for work. And let's figure this other stuff out.
And that's true. And you know, a lot of people, we've heard people say this. I've heard people say it to me, like, why would you give it to a Kardashian? And I said, honestly, at the end of the day, I'm a businesswoman. It's not about, I didn't sell my brand out. You know, I gave my product to someone who has a lot of influence. All that I'm seeing as the business owner, all that my team is seeing as, you know, people who work for a brand that is like amazing, is that this person's pregnant and she has influence. And so when we did that, so many things happened. So then US Weekly writes about us and we're like,
wow,
oh my gosh, you know, because they tweet everything or they write about everything Kim and Chloe and all of them do.
Right.
So they wrote about that and they hyperlinked the Stork bag and we were like, oh my gosh, but she just has so much influence. But like I said, we've sent our bags to many people, our women that people don't really know. You know, your next door neighbor is just as important to me as Chloe, as anybody else that's pregnant that everybody knows. My main goal is to get a Stork bag into every pregnant woman's hand in the entire world, not just even here in the US, but I literally want the Stork bag to be synonymous. So, you know, people ask me about the Chloe thing a lot. They ask me about Joanna a lot. And I'm telling everybody the same thing. I care about Carla and Wyoming the same amount that I care about Joanna and Chloe and all of them. And to be honest with you, I'll send, you know, a gift to a pregnant woman that lost a baby and send her a rainbow Stork bag any day, just because this is about so much more than just what the person did in the past, you know?
Oh, wow. I kind of almost like, I got chills when you said, you know, rainbow Stork bag for a woman that lost a baby. Tell me about what you do about that. That's something, can we just be real? Especially in Black culture, Black families. I don't know if you experience this, but I experienced this in my family. Somebody will be pregnant and then one day they're not and nobody talks about it. It's taboo. You got to keep it to yourself. It's like you like shamed, which it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
And I don't even know why we are like this as like a community, as a collective. It's
Right.
something that happens. It's something that is out of our control. Why do we, as Black people, especially Black women in the family, put shame to that and don't educate each other?
Exactly. Exactly. You know, I have never personally experienced any neonatal death or a miscarriage, but I know people who have. And just like you said, the people that I do know who are friends and family, we don't talk about it. It's one of those things that you don't talk about. You know, we know it happened, but we don't necessarily mention it anymore. And so I think that it's time for us as a community, us as a people as a whole, and as a society to talk about that more. You know, we need, I think women who have went through this, they feel so secluded because
Right.
all we see, you know, is women, they're pregnant and they're happy and they're healthy. But to be honest with you, a lot of women go through depression when they're pregnant. Women lose their babies, they miscarry. Some women can't have babies. It's really hard for them to get pregnant. Whatever the reason, it's not always, you know, flowers and sunshine. And so for me, for the Stork Bag brand, I want to acknowledge all women. I want to acknowledge the woman who has tried for years to get pregnant and finally does, and give her Stork Bag. And I want to acknowledge that woman who has tried one time and they got pregnant and they're super happy. That single mom who got pregnant and maybe, you know, struggling and going through stuff. And that mom who miscarried and miscarried and miscarried and now she's pregnant. Also that mom who maybe had a stillborn baby and then got pregnant again because they wanted a baby so bad. So my products just represent how much we want to acknowledge all of those women. It's a passion brand, and that's really where the rainbow Stork Bag was born out of. It was born out of a service. It was when you.
That is so amazing. Naomi says that's amazing. I'm like, Naomi, I just said that's amazing. That's so amazing.
Yeah. You know, when you look, if you Google gifts, rainbow gifts for pregnant women or rainbow pregnancy gifts, you really don't find anything. You might find some stuff on Etsy, but you don't find anything from a big brand. And to me, that's a problem because so many people go through it. And I don't think it should be taboo. I think it should be something that we talk about, especially now. You know, especially now in our society, we have all these different movements, the Me Too and all of these things that's kind of highlighting what we go through as women that we don't really talk about. That's taboo, and it shouldn't be taboo anymore. And so for my brand, we came up with the rainbow Stork bags so that that woman who feels secluded, who may feel like, you know, no, she's not represented, so that that woman has a gift too, and it's super special for her and her situation.
I am like just so excited that you are the face behind this, and I'm so excited that you're bringing this conversation to the forefront. It's very important, just us as a community, to talk about this, but let's also tackle the topic on it being taboo to be rocking it out in your career, entrepreneur and pregnant. I mean, I'm one of them that's saying, hey, do I freeze my eggs? You know, if you were in a boardroom, you talking about getting pregnant or wanting to have a family, then you are actually looked down upon. Tell me what your thoughts are about that.
You are, you know, when I first started this, it was hard for me to determine if I should come out and call myself a mompreneur or should I just say I'm an entrepreneur, because we don't hear dads saying that they're a dad-trepreneur. You know, they're just entrepreneurs. But for me, I am very proud about being a mom and also being a businesswoman. And I think that every woman that works, whether, you know, you own your own business or you get up and go to work every day, every weekend, every night, whatever it may be, you should be very, very proud, because being a mom is a really hard job. And so you're right. You're absolutely right. You know, when you go stand in front of people, even just my brand is a brand that's dedicated to mothers. And I like to say that this brand was created by a mom and this brand is for moms. And so to someone who normally may invest or may get excited about a fast growing brand like the Stork Bag. They may look at the brand, and it happens often, and they say, oh, but that's for pregnant women and it's by a mom, you know, and it shouldn't be that way. If anything, to be honest with you, I truly think that moms make the best entrepreneurs. And this is why I say that.
Tell me.
Moms automatically, they know how to multitask like no other. Like no other. We can be doing 100 things, and literally all 100 of those things have our attention, because it's just what we do. Like I sometimes I will be doing something, emailing, cooking dinner, trying to help my son with his homework, breaking up a fight. And every last one of those things have my attention, because this is what we do. It's innate. You know what I mean? And so I truly think that the woman who is also a mother is one of the best entrepreneurs. This is what we do. We know how to delegate. We know how to multitask. And on top of that, we know how to look like we have it all together when we really don't. So I truly believe that being a mom should be something that's represented in the workplace even more. And women who have children should feel comfortable with saying, hey, I'm a mom, and I'm also the CEO, CFO, and everything else that's right up there, you know, in the leadership of these corporations. And to be honest with you, you look at Ursula Burns, as a matter of fact, she's one of my favorites. Favorite examples to use. Ursula Burns was one of the first African-American women to lead a Fortune 500 company. And she just recently stepped down. She led Xerox, and she's a mother. And she talks about this, and her husband was a stay-at-home dad because she was a working woman, but she was a mother. And this is what we do. You know, I don't know if you all see, but Madam C.J. Walker is one of my favorite people ever. And what I like to look back at what Madam C.J. Walker did for all of us, not just Black women, because a lot of people think that she was just the first African-American woman, a self-made millionaire, but she wasn't. It was the first woman self-made millionaire. They get that mixed up.
They sure do get it mixed up, don't they?
But I would like for mothers to be more confident, and when they go out, you don't have to say, oh, I'm a mompreneur and I do this. You're an entrepreneur. And if you want to call yourself a mompreneur, that's great. I do. My handle on Instagram is Mommy CEO, because I'm just super proud about being a CEO and being a mom. It takes a lot. And any moms, any dads, anybody, even if you don't have your own children, I think you know that moms work really, really hard. So I think it goes without saying, and I think we should definitely encourage it more, and we should open up the conversation more.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm glad that you are saying this. And I'm also glad that it is someone like you that we can relate to. A lot of times I feel like when these conversations are being had, it isn't something that actually truly resonates with just our generation of Black women. And it's like, I know you're saying this, but you are 50 years my senior, and like, you're not relevant to me.
Right,
I'm glad that it's someone like you that is a mover and shaker, that's doing things, that's proud. And this is the type of stuff that not only do we need as a collective, but our young girls need to see this, and our young girls need to have this value. So when I think about where you are today, where do you attribute, you know, your pride of being a mom, your diligence of being a wife, and your diligence in being a business owner?
You know, I look up to a lot of different women. One of them, of course, being my mother. She was such a hardworking woman, and she still is. I look up to Madam C.J. Walker. I look up to Ursula Burns, to Rosalind Brewer. All of these women who have done so much, and they were women. They were mothers. Lucille Ball is also one of my favorite people. And she was a mother, you know, and she did amazing things, you know, even she was a funny woman, but she was a businesswoman. And so I look up to all of these different people, and Oprah Winfrey is one of them too, but who doesn't look up to Oprah, you know?
Right.
And although she's not a mother, Oprah has such a deep compassion for people, you know? And so I look up to all of these people, and what I try to do is I take bits and pieces of what they did, and I try to put that into what I'm doing. So instead of trying to walk the same walk that they walk, because it's hard for me to do that because I'm not them, what I try to do is I try to walk similar to how they walked, but use some of the things or some of the challenges that they talk about to try to avoid that. And as a mother, it's a day-to-day thing. You know, as your kids get older, I don't think that one woman, father, mother, whatever, can tell you this is how you raise a child. And if you raise them like this, nothing will ever happen and they'll do all the right things. This is not going to happen. You know, as a mother, all you can do is try to do the right thing by your children and hope and pray that they come out right. And you know, as a business owner, all you can do is what you think is the right thing to do for your business. Build the right team, hire the right people, the people who you think are the right people for your business. And hopefully that foundation, the same foundation that you're building and putting in your children, hopefully it sprouts and it builds this big, you know, safe building of an empire, you know, and that's how I try to use this part of me being a mother and this part of me being a businesswoman, because they are two totally different people, to be honest with you. I'm not the same woman that I am when I'm mom or when I'm wife that I am when I'm business Ericka. You know, when we have a meeting or when something happens and I have to be serious, you know, I'm not that same person. But it's all life experiences. It's trying to follow in the footsteps of people who I can connect with, as far as like those people that I mentioned before. And a lot of times I always mention these ladies because I want you all to go Google Ursula Burns and Rosalind Brewer. Nobody ever knows who they are. And every time I mention them, any, you know, speaking engagement or whatever, they're like, who is that? And I'm like, you don't know who that is? Go Google them. They're amazing. And Ursula Burns is one of my favorite people ever. I hope I get to meet her one day, but she's very inspirational.
I want to address when things happen, but at first, Amanda says, thank you for sharing. Your enthusiasm is contagious. You are giving hope for myself to being a successful businesswoman and mother. So shout out to Amanda. Naomi says, amen, that's the truth. Now, we talked about when things happen, especially in your business, logistics is so important. Oh my gosh. People don't understand, like, what goes into making something like this happen. A lot of times people think, oh, they just, you know, pack these little care packages and they just go ship away. No, like your manufacturer has to supply a certain amount of things. And sometimes you don't want too much inventory because you're wasting money. And if you have an influx, you need to be able to ship these things out. Do you have a background in logistics? If not, how did you kind of learn how you were going to put all these things together to have a successful subscription-based service?
Yeah, so I do not have a background in logistics. It was crash and burn type learn, you know, it was messing up and saying, okay, I know not to ever do that again. Right. It's also me, you know, I have to shout out my team. I have an amazing, amazing team of women that work with me, and my team, I rely on my team heavily. And when I hire different people on as employees for the Stork Bag, for me, it's very important to know that they can hold their position without me being right there over them. You have to be able to do this so that I can do all of this and not worry about, you know, whatever this is, you know? And so it was a lot of messing up. It was a lot of losing money. Who wants to lose money? I know I don't like losing money, but it happened.
Absolutely.
And different things happened where we looked back and we said, okay, we won't do that again. And hard decisions were made, you know, being an entrepreneur, like you said, I think people look at certain businesses, and I'll take mine as an example. They may look at it and say, oh, that's easy. A lot of people tell me, I want to start a subscription. And I'm like, yeah. But it's not easy because you have to make tough decisions. I've had to lay people off because of whatever reason. I've lost money. I've had to, you know, I've sold out of products and I had a bunch of orders to fulfill. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And it was quick.
Exactly.
You know, and so all of those different things, if one of my vendors, if they go out of business, which has happened, now I'm stuck and I'm like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And we have to scramble and find. So there's all of those different things. But for, like I said, what we did was we looked at the challenges that we had in the past, the mistakes that we made, and we make sure that we don't make those mistakes again. and we try to see how we can, what we can put in place right now so that those mistakes are not made. And if I'm not there, so that the ship will keep on selling. And so in doing that, it's just about, sometimes I get accused of doing too much because I like lists and I like record keeping, and I like stuff to be, everything's on Google Drive because I need to be able to get to it. And if I need to share,
yes, can we please preach, girl, preach, hallelujah. I'm the same way. And people tell me I'm doing the most. It's like, no, actually, you have to. Organization.
You have to. And so with that said, I would say if people tell you you're doing too much, and you're probably doing just the right thing, you know, because people do say you might be doing too much. It's okay. Let me do too much, because if something happens, guess what? I can go right here on this computer and pull everything up, and then I'm good. But like I said, I did not have experience in logistics, but I did understand that it was going to be some hard work, and I would have to roll up my sleeves and get in there and do work sometimes. 4 years later, I'm still doing the hard work, you know? But it's okay, because I've seen the business grow so much. Last time we talked, oh my gosh, we've grown so much since then, you know?
Yes. I'm just loving it. I'm loving it. Like, I featured Ericka on my radio show. That was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was 2 years.
2 freaking years ago. Man, it's been a long time. And I love that you are still here. You know, 60% of startups fail within the first 2 years, and like, you're still here, and it's just absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot, but what we didn't cover is, how do you recharge? Like, what is your, okay, this is my time for me. Yeah. Are you, throwing back a bottle of Jack? I don't know, sitting in a sauna somewhere. Like, how do you get Ericka back when you are managing, being a mom, business owner, etc.?
So I love vacations. I think right now where we are as a society, especially for Black women, because can I say that Black women are the fastest growing population of people who are starting businesses?
We are.
That, and it's so true. But especially for us, I think that with social media and all of these people saying that they work around the clock and team no sleep, that it's become this thing where if you sleep, if you vacation, if you take a day off, then you're not working hard and you're not successful. And it's like, who started that? And so I truly believe in vacations. I believe in taking Sunday off. If I'm working all day Saturday, Sunday, I'm relaxing. I'm not answering emails. I'm not picking up a phone. I'm not doing whatever with work. I'm relaxing. And my husband and I, we travel a lot. And so when we go on vacation, we try not to take the laptop. Sometimes we do. But we still dedicate at least a full day to just relaxing, just enjoying one another. If the kids are going with us, it's just family time for at least one day, because at the end of the day, I know what is most important, and I know why I'm doing this. And why I'm doing this is so that my 3 sons, who are now little boys, when they become grown men and they're Black men in this world, so that they know that they can literally do whatever they want as well. And when I say whatever they want, I mean, as far as starting something and growing it and turning it into something, a product, a business that everyone wants to be a part of.
Absolutely. Now, as a closing comment, what piece of advice would you give someone? No, as the closing question.
Okay.
If you look back on your younger self, let's say teenage years, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you were 16?
Ooh, don't date him. No. Thoughts become things is my favorite mantra. And if I could tell my young self that, I think I would have avoided a lot of things that happened. When my husband and I first got together, we were very, very broke, and our thoughts were really not conducive with being successful, with being prosperous. It was, we just weren't thinking right. And so I really encourage people to monitor their thoughts, monitor what they're saying, what words are coming from out your mouth, and all of that stuff. But if I could tell my younger self anything, I would say thoughts become things. And even if you don't really understand what that means, you know that if I have stinking thinking, or if I'm thinking something that I don't want to happen, then maybe I should stop thinking that. And maybe I should start thinking only the things that I do want to happen. As childlike as that sounds, it works, and your thoughts really do become things. And so if you continue to think the same thought.
Write that one down, girl. Let me write it down on the Post-it note.
Yes, yes.
It is so true, though. Thoughts do become things. I think that's what we're going to call this this webinar.
Okay.
And it's actually a testament to your story, because you had a thought, and it became the Stork Bag. You activated on it that day, and it became the Stork Bag. And I think that's something that we all should be thinking about every single day. Ori says thoughts do become things. Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining Women Crushing Wednesday. Oh, and everyone, Jess, I'm sure you're probably wondering where my co-host is. Jessica is not feeling well, so send her up some good love and energy as she gets well, and we'll be back next week. But if you all have a pregnant friend, family member, what have you, you all should be sending them a Stork Bag and supporting this amazing Black business. Like, shout out to Ericka. How can we reach you? Tell everyone your website and how we can order Stork Bags for our pregnant loved ones.
Absolutely. So you can go to thestorkbag.com, TheStorkBag.com. You can also find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at The Stork Bag, and on Facebook at The Stork Bag USA. Again, thestorkbag.com. You can find me at Mommy CEO on Instagram, and I can't even remember my Twitter. I never tweet. But go follow The Stork Bag on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
The comment is in there. Ori says, bravo, Ericka, I'm ordering. Everybody go order a Stork Bag from someone that you know.
Is the Stork Bag, Mariah.
The Stork Bag, Mariah. Get it right. The THE. The Stork Bag. Thanks, Mariah. All right, everyone. Have a good evening. We'll see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much, Ericka, for sharing.
Thank
Bye.
you so much for having me. Bye.